But we have Kagwanjala has made it. Simon Kagwanjala, it's an iconic interview, I must say, for you to have Winnie Byanyima on set, and definitely one of the things I would love to hear from her, the comment she made after Mbara municipality election that no life should be lost for an election. Is it something that keeps echoing in her mind when she sees the politics of the day?
Well, that's quite interesting, and perhaps I should start on that very note. One of the rare moments for me when I speak to one of the prolific politicians. Back in the day, she was a very outspoken legislator. Now, she is the executive director of UNAIDS. Definitely there is everything politics that we'll be talking about. She's a wife to the embattled former president of the Forum for Democratic Change and former presidential candidate. You would call him a political dynamite, Colonel Dr. Chiza Besigye. She will also be speaking to us about his current situation. Honorable Engineer Winnie Byanyima, good to have you and a very good morning.
Thank you for having me again. Good morning.
Very kind of you to host us here.
Thank you.
Well, we'll start. My colleague in the studio, Dalton Kawesa, reminded me of one of the statements that you made back in the day in the most contested election between you and Ngomangime, where you said no life should ever be lost because of an election. Does it ring true today?
Of course. It's worrying, the run up to the full election. We're seeing violence again, and it's just not right. It is no cause for it. We should be having peaceful elections. That's what the NRM is about. That's what we went to the bush for.
As one of the persons who laid a foundation for where NRM is today, do you imagine you put up a very weak foundation that has brought the country where it is today, that anything opposition is met with stiff resistance?
We've had reversals. I mean, we had a vision and we pursued the vision, and a high price was paid by those who died, those who were injured and never recovered their full health, and so on, those who lost all their property. There was, yes, a vision, and there was progress for some time. But now we've seen serious reversals on the democratic front. And also we are now seeing the economy failing to provide for most people. So all these are, yes, a result of the direction that we chose to take. But you see, I don't want to go very much into the history, even though you're really describing me as a fossil, as someone from long ago. But I do want to talk about the problems that I see today. We have got farcical political process, a farcical electoral process. It turns out to be a process where people just lie their way, force is used, violence is used, and there's no serious concern about the well-being of people. Look what's happened today. Today you have about 83% unemployment amongst young people up to the age of 24 who have university degrees. Every year we are putting out 700,000 young people on the market every year. Only 90,000 get jobs, 13%. This is a serious issue. You don't even hear the people who are running for elections talking about that. And when these young people come out to express their frustration, they are beaten. They are thrown into jail. They are bullied. So you don't see a serious concern through this crazy political process you don't see real concern and real solutions being proposed for young people. Then you have an economy that is actually said to be growing. When you look at figures of growth, they look impressive, but when you scratch a little deep to see where's that growth coming from, it is not creating the jobs for the young people, as I've said. It is growth that's measured as growth in the oil and gas sector, just because we've borrowed money to prepare for oil and gas. That's what they are counting. But then you see that could become what is popularly called the resource curse, where we do get oil flowing. Even next year it could start flowing, revenues could come in, but it's captured because of how we manage our politics. It could be captured. And that could be that, and anyway, it doesn't create jobs, it's just extraction from a hole, and you get the money. Unless you're putting it in other areas where people can find jobs, it's lost. So it's worrying, the direction that we are taking.
Honorable Byanyima, ordinarily you would imagine that the country would have a strong opposition to put up a case for all these matters. Do you see an opposition that's been further weakened, that they cannot raise these issues? Instead, they are dealing with self-preservation.
No, it's a bigger problem than the opposition. It's really about a transition. That's the issue that's at stake here. We have had a leader who's been here for 40 years, almost 40 years, and who's holding on to power and not defining a way that we will come to new leadership. There's a vacuum that's going to be created. There is a reluctance for him to give us a predictable, a democratic way forward. And that is what is causing all of this. All the people in the political class are either jostling to prove their loyalty to the leader, because the leader is not giving us a way forward, and those in the opposition are being bullied or bought so that the leader can continue with his plan that nobody knows. This is serious. We see that he has placed his son in the military to lead the army. That has always been the basis of power in the NRM, his hold on the army. And by passing this leadership to his son, he and his son control the power. And we don't know what's going to happen next. This is not good because there's insecurity across the system. People are looting. The levels of corruption are rising because of this kind of insecurity and other factors. So you see that the question of a predictable, transparent, democratic transition is driving the politics in the direction it's going and hurting our prospects for an economy that can produce lives and livelihoods for our people.
What would be your forecast for 2026? Is it an election worth looking up to?
Well, I think that, as I said, you people, you keep trying to look at steps along the way, but don't want to scratch deep to see what are the solutions that we can find. Next election, it's not going to be different from the past one, from the Nalkola election we just had. It will be violent. It will be accompanied by a lot of bribery because of this problem I've told you about, that we are stuck. We are at a point where a leader who's done what he could some things good, some things not so good. It's time for him to leave, and he's not willing to leave or willing to give us a program. So we're going to see more and more shabby elections, violent elections. We're going to see more and more people hurt and killed, and we're going to see more contestation of the results. This is what we are.
As one of the eminent Ugandans, do you feel persuaded at all to be part of the transition conversation?
Oh my God, you're so predictable yourself. You now want to ask me whether I want to run for president.
No.
Well, that's what you said. Look, right now, one of the political leaders who should be out there providing an alternative is in jail. I'm talking about my husband, Dr. Kizza Besigye. Another one, a strong leader, Bobi Wine, is constantly harassed. His offices are raided. He's permanently, assailed by the brutality of the system. He and his supporters, I mean. So this is the kind of system that we are in. Why would really anybody want to be part of this unless they may be looking for some financial gain for themselves? But the system is so corrupted and violent that many good people who could lead are not involved. I would like to be involved in a national dialogue. I would want to be involved in a serious dialogue about the future of our country, the future of the democracy, and how to manage our economy.
What would be top on the agenda in this national dialogue?
As I said, the critical question now is the transition, but I think beneath that are many issues to do with our constitution and how it has been violated. It's about some reforms in the laws. It would be about political parties and political contestation, the political process. These are the immediate questions we need to resolve in order for us to be stable, to produce the leaders we need, how to extract the army and the money out of elections. These are the things that we need to discuss in a national dialogue, so that we reset and so that we have the leadership that we need. But I really feel as if we are constantly drawn into how to run into the next election, which is not any better than the previous one. So we remain in a cycle of more and more instability. And that's really worrying.
Do you think there would be any reason to compel government to bow to pressure for a national dialogue? Because there's been a number of attempts towards this direction of a national dialogue, which government has tended to shrug off.
Well, I think much depends on President Museveni himself. I heard him over the media saying that he is a modern day king. I think that was unfortunate. You see, his relationship with the citizens is broken. It's broken and is irretrievably broken. It is now a very abusive relationship. His army, which he and his son lead, and the security sector, the security forces, they brutalize people for just not agreeing with them. Every day you see young people especially being beaten, being disappeared, being abused. So that's a relationship that he has with the citizens. It's abusive. When he's talking to citizens now, he also talks with carelessness, in a reckless way. Why would you tell people in a country that believes in democracy, that you are their king. You're not appointed as, you're not crowned as a king. You're saying that you are the decision maker, that the institutions don't matter. Why would you say that to people? So you see that that relationship is broken, and much depends on him to, I encourage him, let me say this way, I encourage the president to not take the path he's taking of criminalizing his opposition, but instead to dialogue with his opposition and to set with them, with the opposition, prepare the way for his retirement. This is the only way we can break out of this cycle.
Honorable Byanyima, in recent days there's been an emergence of new political blocs, new political forces. The Democratic Front is one of them, which actually is one of the brainchildren of Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. Do you think these are formidable units to relate with?
Well, it's good to have platforms that advocate for alternatives. I have only good words to say about those who are coming out with their ideas, with coalitions, with all that is good. I think it is good. I keep going back to the question of the leadership. President Museveni choosing a peaceful path, President Museveni choosing a predictable path, and a return to rule of law and constitutionalism. When your opposition, when you are abusing your position the way you do, I have just come back from Luzira, and I am quite angry actually at what is going on, because you see that this opposition leader has been criminalized, is sitting in a prison where he is actually, Dr. Besigye is not even like any other prisoner. He's in this little prison held together with mostly ADF, people suspected of being ADF, about 15 of them. They've been dumped there. They were arrested like 10 years ago. They've never been in court, never been charged. They're just sitting there. I understand they are being told that if you can confess, we will let you out, give you amnesty. But these are people who've not been in court to defend themselves for 10 years. Those are the people he's with. He's in a tiny cell. He's now been invaded by bed bugs. They are eating him up. He's a man of 69. He's allowed in a tiny little space outside his cell that's where they cook, that's where he can walk, that's where he's not allowed in the rest of the prison. He can't even be with those who are praying, those who have some social activities, the other prisoners. He cannot. When he's stepping out, he's accompanied by two guards. Two guards accompany him to make sure that nobody talks to him. So he has applied for bail. 6 months after being in prison, he's asked for mandatory bail, and all the judges do is keep manipulating and postponing his applications for bail.
So
Meanwhile,
he's treated differently from other prisoners?
Absolutely. And he's in a tiny space with 15 other, I think there are about 15 suspects, people who are suspected to be AD, and who've been there for 10 years, some of them.
Are you putting this to prison authorities, that Besigye?
It isn't the prison authorities. I have to say they respect him, they treat him. This is a directive about how to handle him. He's handled like he is the most dangerous criminal. And as I'm saying, this is a political leader. That's my point. a political leader, someone who's contested with you 4 times, you're coming to another election, and this, you put him in these conditions, you carry on, and then the judges, the judiciary, which is right under your thumb, keeps him locked up without even prosecuting. So, I mean, this is not the path towards a stable country, a country that gives a future to its young people. This is not how you do it. Instead of, and then what's happened to the other leaders? As I said, Bobby Wine, another one who has challenged him, is hardly a free man. He too and his supporters are constantly on the run. They are not in a fair competition. They are on the run from the security operatives. How is that going to give us an outcome that gives a future to our children?
In the broader context of electoral politics, what does the continued trial and incarceration of Besigye speak to the forthcoming election? One,
this is serious violation of the human rights of Kizza Besigye. For him to still be in jail, denied bail, which is a right, and suffering in those most appalling conditions that he's in, it's a violation of his human rights. But it is also it's not even let me say, it is denying Ugandans a peaceful election where they can make their choice of which leaders they want. You might think you are the best leader, but you don't have to lock up other leaders so that you're the only one in the field. I mean, if you think about it, this is what a bully does, not what a historic figure
this would
like
embolden the opposition in one way or the other to stand up to the rights of Colonel Besigye. Do you think he's been forsaken by his colleagues?
I think I find that assertion objectionable. I think what you're saying is just wrong.
No, while I condemn whatever is happening,
no.
You would imagine that the country rallies around Besigye for his rights, but there seems to be a sense of indifference.
No, I don't agree with that. And I think that it's a little bit, no, let me not describe, but it's like saying that we, Kizza Besigye's family, his colleagues in the opposition, and everybody else who is struggling to survive, to keep a job, to hide from the violence of the police, are not doing enough. That's wrong. I really completely reject that.
That would be my argument.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's so cynical, and I'm sorry to tell you this, that people who love, who trust, who admire Dr. Kizza Besigye continue to love, to admire, to respect him, and to support him in all the ways that they can. But they are all besieged. They are besieged. They are running for their own lives. Others are in hiding. Others are in prison with him. We go to see many people. There's Hajobet Kamlegea. There are others. There are young people who've been there 6 years, 7 years, 5 years. All these are people who have one political shade, and the only reason they are being persecuted is because they don't agree with the leader today. So when you say that they don't care about him, I find that
it would be
offensive.
It would be a central issue.
I find it offensive.
It would be a central issue for national discourse. The rights of Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye represent
the victim. You're saying you don't have supporters. That's why you are in jail.
Not really.
That's the implication of what you're saying.
Initially, the incarceration of Besigye was such a big issue, but ever since, the country seems to be moving on. and not
You seem to be obsessed with media rather than with the essence of things. Of course, if today he is in court, it will be on your television. But when he's not in court, why do you expect it to be in the news? Other things are happening, and that doesn't in any way take away from the crime that's being committed against him. And also the crime that's being committed against Ugandans by denying them their opportunity to support their leader in the electoral process.
You saw Colonel Besigye yesterday. Is he still as resolute as he was initially?
He never changes. He believes what he believes, whether you agree with him or not. He expresses himself peacefully. He is a law-abiding citizen, and he's also a very strong leader who does not break even when under persecution. So he's as strong as ever and as motivated to continue pursuing his ideals as always.
There is every indication that you're going to be into this judicial ping pong for a long haul. Do you think something could turn around the entire process to guarantee basically his freedom?
This is not a legal matter. And I think President Museveni himself knows that. It's not a legal issue. It's a political issue. It will have to be resolved, or it should be resolved politically. President Museveni should have the courage to face his opposition and compete with them fairly, or even have a dialogue with them about the rules of how elections should be managed. That's one. He should also have the humility to accept that having served so many years, that Ugandans may want to choose a different leader. These are, and to be a democratic leader requires that you are humble, that you accept that you are a servant, I underline the word servant, of the people, that you only are their leader because they've chosen you. This is a position you take in a humble way, because you're there because you've been chosen to serve. This is why I say his relationship with citizens is broken. When you have been chosen to serve and then you come and say, I am your king, meaning I am born with the power to rule over you, you've just created a different relationship. And so, yeah, to answer your question, this can go on forever, going to the courts, and these poor judges who have been instructed not to give him bail, who are under perhaps even other instructions to find him guilty, they will go on and on. And we can see Dr. Besigye staying there in that prison just like the others who've been there for years. But this need not happen. We shouldn't go this way. And I'm using this opportunity to appeal to President Museveni that take the good road. You are coming towards the end of your service to Uganda. End it well. Restore this country on the democratic path. Fight this corruption that is killing the futures of our children. Hand over power peacefully. Uganda will continue. Uganda will be better when we have a peaceful transition.
Honorable, as we take a short break.
Yeah.
Recently, some time back I would say, Adonia Yebare, Uganda's representative to the UN, called you out for being too political, yet you're serving a diplomatic role. Don't you think you never heeded what he told you?
With due respect, you really are not using this time well. I came on your program to discuss the problems of Ugandans, to talk about my husband. I passed through Uganda to visit him, and why he as a political leader is languishing in prison when he should be out there playing his role. I came to talk about the HIV response in Uganda. Now you're asking me about Adonia Ayebari.
And your involvement in politics.
I don't want to talk about that. This is just pettiness. I want to talk about the real issues. I am a senior leader in the United Nations. I know the rules that I work that govern me. I don't need to discuss that here with you. Let's talk about Ugandans and their lives.
Do you think this is critical as well?
No, I don't see what is there talking about Adonia Ayebari and what he's talking about. No, I don't see the point there.
Well, we'll take a very short break, and when we return, Honorable Winnie Byanyima, the Executive Director of UNAIDS, will be telling us how best to navigate the current crisis after the USAID cuts that has grossly affected the fight against HIV/AIDS.
No, that's an issue to talk about.
Good morning.